Are you working hard but not seeing the results you want? Maybe it's time to work smart by aligning your efforts with your natural personality strengths.
A real strengths profile is an in-depth look into an individual's natural gifts, natural abilities.
In this episode of The Curious CEO, Dermot is joined by two human behavior and performance specialists as they dive deep into strengths-based coaching and how understanding your unique traits can transform your personal and professional life. You'll learn the science behind personality-based coaching and why it works.
I've done almost 30,000 of these. We've never had two people the same. So one size doesn't fit all when you're coaching someone.
How identifying your strengths leads to greater success and fulfillment.
This is about individuals designing a life of greater meaning, greater purpose in absolutely every single aspect of their life.
And actionable tips for applying this approach in your own career.
All of our traits can become traitors if we're not aware of them, we don't know how to manage them.
Discover how to turn what makes you unique into your ultimate superpower.
The freedom that comes in knowing who we are as leaders allows us to let go of who we're not.
This is the episode you didn't know you needed.
Welcome to another episode of The Curious CEO. Today, we're going to talk about how to get the best out of yourself and others. Now, after all, that's what great coaches and leaders do. They know how to get the best out of themselves and of others. And for almost 3 decades, Buffini and Company has been coaching our clients so that they can get the best out of themselves. So today, I want to bring you inside the walls of Buffini and Company and introduce you to what we call our real strengths profile and process. And today, I'm joined by Rachael Yeaman and Kevin Buffini. And Rachael and Kevin are real strengths experts, and they have trained tens of thousands of our clients and staff on how to get the best out of themselves and of others. Rachael, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dermot. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Excited to be here today.
Well, let's dive right in. Today, what I'm going to do is leaders go first. So I'm going to put myself a little bit on the altar here today with my profile. And what I would love to do is, first of all, introduce the profile, but also kind of walk through some of my strengths, some of my weaknesses, and have you guys help me get the best out of myself this year, and in turn help me get the best out of others. And as you guys know, the first person that has to get the most out of themselves and go first is the leader. So before we I'll kick off here. Kevin, what is a real strengths profile? Can you describe it to us?
A real strengths profile is an in-depth look into an individual's natural gifts, natural abilities. We use it internally for coaching so that we can custom make our coaching around that unique person. We've never had two profiles the same. I've done almost 30,000 of these. We've never had two people the same. So one size doesn't fit all when you're coaching someone. What we try to do then is look for environments to place that person inside of that they'll excel at because it's a natural fit. They feel fulfilled. They feel purposeful. The activities they're being asked to do are easier. There's less resistance to them. They have more success. They have more results. So what we do is we'll get someone on the phone. We'll have one of our profilers call you. We'll listen to you. It's maybe a 30, 40-minute conversation, and we just ask all kinds of random questions. And in that process, what happens is people leak who they are. It's not a test. It's a conversation. And what we can discover by listening is your ability to have accents. So they kind of leak where you're coming from. They leak what you're motivated by. So if we can marry an activity to a motivation, there's almost no resistance to it. It seems simple for that person. And so from our interview process, we're able to compile all the data, gather a profile together, and then we give that over to the coach. See, what I do as a consultant is I give people the awareness as to what the abilities are, what they're designed to do. But as Rachael would tell you, awareness isn't enough. So it goes from a consultant like me over to the coaches then who now know what to do with this person. Mm-hmm. They know where they're going to have success. They know what they're going to be resistant to. Because even though you and I we've shared rooms and wombs together, we don't have very many things in our profiles that are the same. No. So if they tried to coach you the same way as me, we'd be unsuccessful. We'd be hesitant towards coaching, and we'd fail. We'd burn out terribly. So it's really our secret sauce here at Buffini and Company, why we have such good retention. Our numbers are better than everybody else's because we know who we're talking to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, we are brothers. You got a better beard than me. That's about all. But, you know, it is about awareness of, okay, this is a tool so we can identify what you're really great at, where you maybe struggle. And ultimately, it's kind of the blueprint so we can actually understand this is how we can get the best out of you first so we can get the best out of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
So it goes from, okay, we got the team, they do the consultation, they ask the questions, they produce this profile. And now, Rachel, that kicks into your team. So now, you've been a coach, you coach the coaches, you speak on this topic. What do you do with it? What do you get the coaches to do, and why does it work with our clients?
Well, I think Kev set it up so beautifully. The thing about Real Strengths is that it does just that. It focuses on the unique strengths of every single individual. And then the value that happens with our dynamic coaches is that they know how to take those unique strengths of each individual that we serve and work with and deploy effective strategies to put those strengths into practice in all aspects of life. And yes, this is about hitting our goals. Yes, this is about the quarterly OKRs and everything like that, but it's so much bigger than that. This is about individuals designing a life of greater meaning, greater purpose, to be able to use their strengths, their gifts in absolutely every single aspect of their life.
Right. Well, I know the coaches love it. I mean, why do you think the coaches, how does it help the coaches really coach somebody? Like, what is kind of like a cheat sheet, right? I mean, can you get to it quicker with people? Can you kind of, how to give them the spoonful of medicine to make, sugar to make the medicine go down?
Yes. I mean, it's a much more enjoyable process, quite frankly, when we're able to tailor our coaching strategies to the strengths of an individual. It's more sustainable. Everybody can kind of go through the motions and create some mechanics and put some, daily habits in place and things like that. But if it's not harnessing who you are as an individual and truly leveraging the strengths and the gifts that you have, it's not sustainable. It's going to rob you of your energy. It's going to take longer. And quite frankly, from a coaching perspective, when we're working with leaders specifically, if our leaders don't know what their strengths are as a leader, which at times is different than their strengths as a producer, which is what usually is what gets them into leadership at the beginning. But if they don't know what those strengths are or how to consistently put them into daily action, there is a complete limit. There is a ceiling on what is possible for themselves as a leader, but also for the entire organization. And so we get to partner with these brilliant individuals on the strategies that just feel so natural and innate to who they are, that can be sustainable, that can be done consistently over time, and can become true habits.
And it kind of starts early, I mean, Kevin and I, we're 5 boys and 1 girl in our family, and our parents never said, why don't you be more like Kevin? And they never said to Kevin, why can't you be more like Dermot? We were always kind of like seen as our own individuals, our own gifts and talents. And I think, as I coach CEOs and as we coach people, to me, what's always difficult is when you have somebody who believes they're a lot better than they are. That's a hard person to reach. They really think they're great at something. You're like, oh my gosh, you're terrible, right? The other side of it is what's also difficult is when you see somebody who doesn't believe how great they are. Like, and I don't know about you, but I've experienced that in, sometimes as a parent, sometimes as the boss, where I'm like, you're great at this, and they just don't receive it and accept it.
Yeah.
Or somebody who you have to talk out to it, so they end up on American Idol because nobody pulled them on them and told them, you're actually not you can't sing. So, I think that's why this is so powerful, because many people who are watching here right now are kind of like, I'm learning how to manage myself. By the way, what are my gifts? What are my talents? Like, I may have bumped into them. I may have experienced them sometime, like, oh, I think that's it. I think that was really good. Oh my gosh. Like, how does it feel when we're working in a place of getting the best out of ourselves and others? So, it does bring in energy, and it does bring in energy to coaching. So what I would love to do today, I don't know if I'd love to do it, but we're going to do it, which is put myself in front of the two of you. And Kevin, you're my brother now. There's an audience watching this. Whatever you do, don't be yourself. But anyway, I'm going to pull up my profile. Okay. And what I want to do is dig in here and kind of look at some of my gifts. And then what I want you to do is kind of point out to me, okay, Kevin, maybe what we can do, you can just kind of explain what that attribute is, whether it's team builder, Olympian, ethical, performer, detective, pioneer, any of those attributes. And Rachel, what I would love for you to do is help me kind of like coach me up on it. Like, how do I implement that? Get the most out of that. And then maybe what you guys could do is just remind me of like where I might get in trouble. Okay. So here's my profile. And again, one of the things I really utilize this tool on a daily basis for myself and for when I'm working with my team, or when we're hiring somebody to Buffini and Company, just to see where do we complement each other, and where are we going to get into trouble, or where are they going into trouble with me? And it's not even just about getting into trouble. It's really about how do we get the best out of each other so that we can be best for our customers. So, Kevin, let's talk to me a little bit about the first one. There is team builder. Is that like number one? Is that like why is that top? Is it just random, or is that?
No, what you're looking at there is the collection of the abilities that you have. And each one is an ingredient that makes up the recipe of Dermot. Now remember, there's no one else on the planet that'll have all of these abilities. We're looking at 6 abilities here. I only have 5. And that's why I said we've never had 2 the same. And so we have to coach everybody uniquely based on who they are inside of our system. You've had these abilities since you were a little boy. You've had familiarities with them, you've had success using them, and you've had failures using them. And many times those failures will cause us to not want to use it that much because it's scarring, it's caused problems, it's caused issues. Maybe it's not okay to be whom I am. So what we always try to do then is once we discover what the abilities are, we're constantly looking to deploy you and to use those abilities, because you'll feel so much more purposeful when you're using them. Now, again, the first ability that we're looking at here is your team builder. The first ability when we profile someone is the thing that we heard you say the most. Again and again and again, when we profiled you, what you must have talked about to one of our profilers was bringing people together. People, people, people. Some of you don't know this, but Dermot has probably some of the best relational abilities I've ever profiled. His people skills are ridiculous. Since he was a little boy, he was able to get people to do things. He'd be able to bring people together. And what this ability, the essence of this ability is all about is unity. So as a leader, he can use this ability to create culture, to bring people together, to try to get people to work more cohesively together. And so I've been able to see examples of that since you were a kid, and here you are now as a CEO, and you're using the exact same abilities, even unconsciously. And subconsciously, it shows up all over the place. So what this ability is all about, it's the number one ability I found in leadership. When I did all my leadership consultations last year, it was the number one ability I found across the board. And what this ability is really all about is unity and loyalty. It's a very natural thing for you to look for loyalty in people and expect. You don't just do friends, you do blood brothers. You just went back to Ireland and hung out with a bunch of people you haven't seen in almost 40 years, because you have those natural abilities and those natural tendencies to connect with people. Unmanaged, or when this ability gets in trouble, because all of our abilities become disabilities. All of our traits can become traitors if we're not aware of them, we don't know how to manage them, or we're overindulging in them. So one of the things I used to hear Mom talking about you with your team builder was the people you'd hang out with, because you had so many different friends and so many different kinds of people you could hang out with. She was always worried about the kinds of people that you could end up with, because you were just like, there's room for more. Come on. So with this ability, they love to bring people together. But what they hate is being left out, not being included, being abandoned. So when I was counseling a lot of people last year, what we found was when people left their teams, they were crestfallen and they didn't want to hire people again because it hurt. It hurt as a human being. We never lose fact that we're coaching people who happen to be in a profession. And if that person is hurt, they don't want to hire that person, hire anybody else, because this feels bad. So with an ability like that, we're always trying to engage it relationally, obviously, but also to be really judicious about who gets to get you. And then also, is there somebody on your team that maybe your loyalty needs to let go of? But it's difficult for you to let go of people if you feel a sense of loyalty. But not everybody gets to get you, is what you've learned over the years.
That's true. Well, that's what I said. You know, as you said earlier, it's like you experience these things as you grow up. You're like, I think I like that, like unity and loyalty, and I like to have unity. I like to provide loyalty. But it was great with the profile to have like an explanation, like a category to put that in, so that I could do something with it. Like as you said, to use it to get the best out of myself, and then also to be careful with how does that get violated or misused or taken advantage of. So great stuff, Kev. Rachel, coach me up. Team builders. How do I use this for good? How do I use this to grow my business, work better with my leadership team? What have you got for me?
Well, you just touched on something so important, and it comes down to language. You know, when people are empowered with their real strengths profile, they now have language to put to some of these innate strengths that they've maybe known they've had, but haven't really ever been able to have the words or the language to be able to speak it into existence. And then the freedom that comes in knowing who we are as leaders allows us to let go of who we're not. There's no longer this posturing or pretending, or like you said, like thinking that we're actually better than we are. And that's one of the things, as my specific leader, Dermot, that I see in you with this team builder is that you are doing everything from a strengths-led position that Kevin was just talking about here. Like, you are able to set this vision for the organization, enroll the leadership team, enroll the rest of the servant leaders to be able to communicate that with clarity, and really just ensure that we're enrolling the individuals in our organization, in the mission, the goals, the vision, and then galvanizing specific groups of people. And so there is for sure this just warmth and charisma that has, like, there's like a magnetic pull towards really healthy team builders that are in leadership. A lot of the questions that I would ask team builders that I would work with, or even discussions that you and I have had, is, how is this ability showing up as a leader right now? Where am I shining in using this ability to bring unity and to bring people together and to lead an organization? Where do I feel like I'm struggling in this aspect? Am I hanging on to some individuals out of my desire for loyalty and unity, that maybe they have outgrown the business, or the business has shifted in different ways where the position or the needs have changed for the organization? Am I holding back on having harder conversations because we like unity versus conflict? And so I think when you sit down and you give yourself a way to write down or reflect on some questions on paper, it takes it out of you as a person, and you're able to look at it a little bit more objectively. Where are my strengths shining? How am I showing up using this ability? Where am I struggling? And what is possible for me to do to be able to develop that from more of a strengths-led position versus some of that reactivity that Kevin was talking about?
Well, it's interesting you're both saying this. I've experienced all of the positives of what you've said, but I've also had to learn how to manage it, like you're saying. So, for instance, you can't have unity with somebody who doesn't want unity. Like, I've tried that. I have really tried that. I've tried to build a team with somebody who's like, I don't want to be on the team. I'm not on board. And what I've learned is I've almost died trying, like as you said, to get the wrong person. Like, when they tell you who they are and what they believe and what they think, believe them. Yes. So at what point is it time to go? And I've learned this. At what point is it that you have to save yourself before you save others?
Well, you just said it. I mean, when you enter into a non-reciprocal relationship, meaning they are not putting in as much effort as you are putting into the structure, and it's not a perfect 50-50 every single day, but it's the more often than not. If we are constantly re-enrolling and re-enrolling and re-enrolling, and that individual is just choosing to either not enroll in the mission, the vision, the goals, the OKRs, whatever it is, that's probably not the best position for them to be in. And so having that hard conversation, like being willing to put yourself out there on the line and demonstrate care in a professional setting to individuals, to release them and give them freedom to be able to be in a position that does allow them to do whatever it is that they're wanting to do, or that they feel passionate about, or to use their strengths in a different way. But I think that is usually where I would encourage clients when I would work with them. If you feel like you are pulling far more than they're showing up, your instinct, your gut, like, it's telling you something there. That's data, that's information.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, and this is great for me. This is great reminders as I go about my day and my week, and I'm working with folks. For me, what I found is, and like many people on here, because I want to help, like a lot of our audience, they're phenomenal at helping people. Okay. They get paid for doing a great job of helping people. Yeah.
Yes.
What I found is the team builder for me can lead to the disease to please. And what I've had to go from is being not a people pleaser, but my goal and my objective and my job is to build a team at Buffini & Company that's a force for good. To build a team at Buffini & Company that are unified around our mission to impact and improve the lives of people, who are passionate about that. And then ultimately to go, this person isn't into it, they should not be here, because ultimately that protects the team, right?
Yeah.
Serving versus pleasing. Sometimes they can run in parallel, but sometimes
Yes.
they cannot. Our motivation has to be to serve.
Great. Okay, let's dig in here. We haven't, I am not leading the witness. You know, you guys can dive in here wherever you want. Where else can I, where else here can I get the best out of myself on this profile? And so I can get the best out of others. And where else, what other one attribute there do you see
Choose
that
your
I
own
need to be
adventure,
careful
Kev.
of?
Where you want to go next?
Right. Well, like as I'm looking at this and I'm reading it, I mean, these abilities go on a journey. We're born with abilities. It's like Play-Doh. We start to use them. We get talented. Our parents applaud us. Then sometimes we continue to do it, then become self-indulgent. And too much of a good thing, even yourself, is a bad thing. Those talents become strengths when you learn how to withhold them. That's when you start to learn management over those abilities. And then when you give those strengths to people in your community, your loved ones, people close to you, people who deserve you, that's when they become gifts. When we're not aware of them, we can misplace our gifts. Like, I'll tell you a quick little story. Years ago, I was asked to come down on a prison ministry, to come down and talk to some guys. And of course, I'm profiling people all the time. It's what I do. 724, I'm listening, I'm hearing accents, I'm hearing where they're coming from. And there was a lot of gang members who were team builders.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Even though they were breaking the law, they were doing bad things, there was something innately in them that made them feel that it was right. They would have each other's backs. They would lie for one another. They would die for one another. That's a beautiful trait. It's just misplaced. So if we take that same loyalty and we actually give it to a corporation or a company or your family or people who deserve that loyalty, we were able to turn some of those people around. But unfortunately, a lot of them were just so connected and so codependent on other people, they wouldn't shake it. But all of these abilities have a natural God-given desire to serve other people. When we overdo it, it only becomes a self-serving trait. And that's when we know it's becoming a weakness or a disability.
So are you saying that as a team builder, it can become self-serving?
Any ability can become self-serving when it starts operating from more of that like defensive, reactive state. Because again, you know, we've got the strength and the beauty, like the pure essence of the gift on one side. But then on the other side of the spectrum is more of that emotionally reactive, like everything is coming at you and you are just armoring up and guarding up. And so when we think about that, just from like the analogy that creates, anytime we are just reacting to what is happening and we're pulling armor up, we're self-serving, we are self-protecting. And so anytime we're operating out of the defensive side of any ability, in essence, it is self-serving. There's no one ability that becomes self-serving or doesn't. It just depends on if we're reacting.
Yeah, sure. Like, I mean, I think it's a great, because I think we have to be careful with, like, as you said, like, I remember a couple of years ago, somebody told me that a friend of theirs gave them an ornament for the Christmas tree. And they were like, oh my gosh, I made this and I made this for you. And it's fantastic. Here you go. And they made it. I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. And then they came over and, you know, the day after Christmas and the ornament wasn't on the tree. And they were pissed. And I realized, oh, that gift wasn't for that person at all. That gift was to elicit a response about how you feel about me. So back to team builder, when you're saying that, what I have to be careful of with the disease to please, and I think a lot of us do, is that fact is, are we doing it to please others or are we doing it for somebody to be pleased with us?
Right.
So pick on something else here. Come on, let's beat me up. Let me have at it.
Here's a fun one, because it's easy to look at all the grown-up abilities like your ethical, which is all about black and white and following rules, and that's typically what a lot of leaders, you know, will impart on folks. The thing I always try to impress on people is you're a human being who happens to be a CEO. We're very adaptive creatures, so we always try to marry the activities with the abilities based on what they're naturally going to do. You've learned how to manage some of these really well. Like one of your abilities that we share in common, in fact, the only ability we share in common, is we're both performers. So when we're little, and it's in that early stage, we learn we can make people laugh. We can crack people up in school. And it's a great trait for making people relax, putting people at ease. When you have a first meeting with someone, you can put people at ease. Now, making people laugh is a great trait. But have you ever been around somebody who's trying to be funny? It has the complete opposite effect of what it is that they're trying to do.
I know I'm funny.
It backfires on them, and suddenly they kind of get repelled from the pack. When you and I are cracking jokes at a funeral and we're getting, you know, yelled at by our parents afterwards, that's when we start to learn how to withhold it, because we didn't realize that there was a consequence to not managing it until we get checked. You've always been able to use your humor when you were in sales back in the day to bring people closer. It's part of what people get when they get around you. It can be lighthearted. But the ripple effect and the consequences is if we just keep doing it, we lose respect because we're so used to getting a response from people, which is what performers are about, is just getting a reaction from people. And if we just get used to pushing buttons, what happens is that you start to lose respect from people because people are waiting for the finish line or the punch line.
Like Michael Scott in The Office, where he has that famous line that he can't help saying. Yeah, I get it.
Yes.
Look it up.
Right. And so it stops people seeing you as the leader you are because we're undermining ourselves because we're not managing that trait.
Yeah, that's great. And that's an impress attribute. It's one of so there's different varieties of this where people have it's an impact, a positive impact, or to be seen, or create a wow. And a lot of folks want to make, the impress can also wow customers. And, as you say, a positive and a negative. So
like there's 72 abilities and styles and perspectives. And we try to boil them all into groups because there's something in common with all of them. Like you and I have relational abilities, but they're different. Mine's designed to teach and counsel and help people. Yours is designed to create the group. But we both need people in order for that ability to show up.
So Rachel, when we're coaching an impress person like a performer or a showman or a celebrity or, what is the key here from a coaching tip?
Kev, I think nailed it when it comes to like the true essence of what that ability is able to do. And I want to tie it into a little bit of a bigger picture here. So, Henry Cloud says that business moves at the speed of trust. And for somebody like yourself, Dermot, who's in such a high level of leadership and has so many individuals that they're standing in for and leading, trust is vital. And as Brian says, trust is composed of character and competence. That team builder, this performer that we're talking about, like this is that character building traits that you're able to showcase to individuals that I care about you, that I am human, you are human, we are in this together. Like business needs great individuals to be able to push missions forwards, visions forwards. That is half of the trust equation though. And so a lot of what we focused in on here is where you are just so uniquely designed to showcase that character, that you care about the individuals that you lead. Kevin also, though, touched on the ethical. You've got a detective in the learn family. You've got an Olympian in that competitive family. Those really showcase that competence piece, the perseverance, the resilience, the problem solving, a lot more of that business acumen that demonstrates I am also excellent at what I do as an individual in leading this organization. And so it's that balance of both of those abilities. And again, it's multiple abilities in both of those buckets there, but that is really the beauty of what is possible, certainly with the full Real Strengths profile available, but in coaching individuals, we're able to hone in on what specific abilities you need to deploy with your team that you serve and that you lead to showcase that I care about you as an individual in this professional setting. But then these are the abilities that you can lean into from a business standpoint, from a competence standpoint, to showcase that I'm also exceptional at what I do.
Well, as you're both saying, it's something that, as you say, every gift and every strength that you have has the opposite too, waiting and lurking. I had to learn in meetings. It would sound like I was doing this. I'm going, What I was really doing was this.
Biting your tongue.
I was biting my tongue because I'm like, oh my God, that's a great line. Oh my God, that's a softball. Oh wait, that's what she said.
But I love this awareness because I've seen this real time in meetings where, and I know it's running through your head. It's I've already enrolled them. They already know that I care about them. Like that character building piece, like the culture building piece is taken care of. Now's the time for more of these business competence leading abilities to really shine in this meeting.
Totally. And to be honest with you, candidly, the same way as team builder or same way with the other attribute, you can take it too far. So at one point I took it so far where I'm like, I almost showed up as like, I'm not funny. It's all business. Let's go. And our clients would, I'd meet our clients at an event and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were fun. You just, because I was like, intense. Don't say the wrong thing. this is not the time for it. I'm like, and so but again, at the same time as people are in appointments or leading someone, if you're not, again, you've got to leave room for humanity. At the end of the day, I do want to make it fun. I want to have a laugh. I want to be able to laugh at myself. But at the same time, as you can be having so much fun, you don't know what to be serious about. So if it's not managed properly. So
yeah, I mean, the goal is to use it. It's not to abdicate it and never use it again because you've had a bad experience with it.
Yeah.
When these abilities are being used, it's when you feel the best.
Yeah.
It's just we have to be aware that we can't use them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel?
Yeah, you said it great. I mean, sometimes we do have to also be aware of is if we have an old narrative or if we've been slapped a couple of times for using, again, the pure essence of the strength of the ability, it can sometimes that fear or that reactivity can lead us to withhold. And then, yeah, you might come across like a complete robot to the team that you serve, or quite frankly, the message that you might be communicating is that you don't care about them because you're only focused on the business metrics. Whereas your experience as a leader is, this is knocked me on my butt before. I'm trying to make sure that I keep it professional, or all these different stories that the leader's telling themselves. Yeah. And so again, it's being so mindful of the beauty and the purpose of which you're using it when you're leading a team or when you're serving clients.
And I think that's why this is such a great coaching tool, right? Because it frames something differently to me, other than me framing it myself. Whether it's a positive or negative reaction or outcome that you get, what I found is, like, even this conversation, you can put a different, okay, look, you can totally be that, or you can use that gift, but here's how you use it for good. And then at the end of the day, like we've talked about, it's like, first of all, there's awareness. Like awareness of my gifts, my talents, my God-given design. Because I believe, honestly, every single person
100%.
is uniquely, wonderfully made and can be as successful as they want to be if they can just learn to manage themselves and own their gifts. So first of all, awareness. The second thing is practice.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about this all the time. I mean, practicing. Like, oh yeah, I did it again, whatever. But also the did it again is like, hey, I did that the right way, right? That was a good thing. And then I think the last thing is mastery, right? So that we do it so often. And honestly, I have done a lot of personal growth and development. I've done a lot of internal work, a lot of relational work. I've worked on my money, my time, and everything else. But I have never found a tool better than this for our customers or ourselves to get the best out of others. So look, I don't want to make this all about me, but it's kind of, it's good reminders. Is there any other attribute there that you see that I need to focus on this year so I can get the best out of myself and others before we go backstage and start answering a bunch of our questions?
I'll tell you one that I thought was brilliant back in the day was when the pandemic broke out. Nobody knew what was going to happen. People were worried about their jobs, their incomes, their connections. I mean, I was fascinated. I did a podcast back I couldn't wait to see what the reaction was how people were going to react with this. I was fascinated. But one of the things you did brilliantly was you got the company together and you said, look, nobody's losing your jobs, because you have a part of your profile that's about balance. And what it immediately did is it relaxed everybody. And everybody they were worried, they were nervous, they weren't working properly because they didn't know what was going to happen. And so you showing up with competence as a leader gifted everybody with a sense of balance. Let's just keep working. Let's just keep doing what we're designed to do. So by using these traits and being intentional about using them, it had a massive effect on the entire company. And I'm sure the people that you're coaching as well as CEO, when I was looking at your profile, and I see, obviously, you and I are both performers. It reminded me when I was selling real estate. When people would refer me, they say, Dermot, you love working with Kevin. He's really funny. And I thought, oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. And then I thought about it after. I'm like, wait a minute.
Don't lead with that.
That's not an endorsement. That's more like a disclaimer.
Watch out.
Right. And so I didn't realize about my profile then. I wasn't managing my performer. I was showing up all the time. And so what would happen was when I got coaching, they said, no, you have to be the performer. But it's when you use it. So there would be times with clients, I would have to intentionally go, okay, let me put my real estate on here for a second. So they knew I was changing gears. He just went serious all of a sudden. And then when we would get together or we were doing client activities, then you can let your performer loose. Have fun, play with it. So having a good coach to be able to tell you to use the green light or the red light allowed me to excel, even selling real estate, which wouldn't have been my forte. But as a performer, it gave me an opportunity to go do it. Another one you have in there is a very competitive ability, which is your Olympian. This is why you were the best athlete in school. And the best way to get you to beat everybody in the school was to tell you wouldn't be able to. So it has a natural reaction to a challenge, because this ability loves a challenge. You love to take on a challenge. And it's the David versus Goliath attribute. It's the me versus the big guy, the underdog versus the favorite. And so that allows you to be tenacious. You never quit. I'm a great quitter. I quit at everything. You never quit. You never give up. And in America, they love that. They hate quitters in America. But you're fantastic with it. It showed up with your sports. It showed up in relationships. You wouldn't quit on people. It shows up at work. And so the desire there is to overcome a challenge.
Yeah. And too many sometimes.
Right.
And
you had Alison Levine on, and she would say that Mount Everest is filled with people who were Olympians who said, well, I wonder if I could.
Yeah.
And any Olympian that sees, I wonder if I could, they swing at that pitch.
Right.
Doesn't mean they should.
And just like you say, it's like, I do. I love a challenge. I love getting after it and the whole lot. And ultimately, I'll be honest with you, my goal this year is to do less of that, is to do less challenges, is has the discipline to pick the challenges that really matter. Yeah. And by the way, and Rachel, I'm curious what you have to think of it. I think sometimes it is time to quit. Sometimes it is time to give up on a certain goal. You know, what would you say from a standpoint of managing the Olympian and coaching me up on that?
Oof. You know, one of the elements that I used to say to a lot of Olympians that I would work with, I'm also married to one, so let me be super transparent there. I'm surrounded. Sometimes the win or the overcoming of that challenge is to quit faster than we ever have before. And so I am a huge believer in that we get new information every single day. And what we didn't know 10 years ago, 10 days ago, 10 minutes ago, we have new information today, and it is our responsibility to factor that into the equation. It doesn't mean that we're constantly changing directions and giving our teams whiplash, but when we are crystal clear at the heart of what we are intending to do, the mission, the vision, the goals of the organization, if we have tripped into new information, but we are going to hold steady because that Olympian's going to see it through to the bitter end, sometimes that win is being able to pivot faster tomorrow than we do today. And I think when we can redirect our thoughts around it's not about having the right path, but it's about using the information that we give to figure out what the true challenge is.
Yeah.
And then pivoting accordingly if we need to.
It's so good. You know, at the end of the day, I think it's sometimes experience teaches you that, right? You're like, I think I've had this person before in my life. I think I spent too much time trying to help them win, onboard them into my team builder, help them see it my way, whatever, to be understood. And at the end of the day, I think experience is the thing that makes you go, hold on a second here, Dermot, you're going to go do that again. You know, I'd say we use this tool. At Buffini Company, it's very difficult because we're a highly relational company. We believe we've built a great business because we help our clients. We do well by helping them do well, by holding to a certain level of values and how their customers experience them with professionalism. And sometimes it's hard to manage the relational taking care of the person, but also you got to win. Okay, you got to win. You got to be competitive. You've got to win. Your business has to win. You have to win because that's how you pay your bills. But at the end of the day, it's about winning the right way. You know, we all have good relationships with each other, there's personal relationships and business relationships. We use this tool as three brothers working together. Okay. Many of you are working with family members. Maybe you're working with spouses. We use the tool for that because sometimes we just have to hit pause and go, hold on a sec. I'm sorry, Kev. I'm communicating with you the wrong way. We had it this morning, right? We're getting ready for this podcast. And I was like, I really want to do well with this today. And then I realized, am I being a bit too intense? He was like, just an itty bit. I was like, okay, sorry. So we do use this tool to interact with each other. Look, here's what I would say, Kevin and Rachel, I'd love to get your last take on this before we head off. But what is your advice when it comes to getting the best out, using a tool like this to get the best out of yourself? Why should somebody explore this?
Because I'd hate to go through life blind. I'd hate to have a job and not realize if this is a fit. I always think when I'm consulting with a CEO or something, it's like being a zookeeper, but you don't know anything about animals. And you start throwing in tigers with gazelles you guys just need to get along better. And sure enough, it's either going to be the worst zoo in the world or the best zoo in the world. It'd be like Jurassic Park. So For us as a coach in a coaching company as well, it's not just the person we're coaching, the coach is involved in that. And the coach has to be able to manage themselves to not project something onto somebody else. And I think that when you find fulfillment at work, when you find an interest in work that we can stoke and turn into a passion, people work for pay not nearly as long as they work for passion. There's less turnover when people feel fulfilled. You can tell when you look in the zoo, when some animals are just pacing back and forth and back and forth, they're not happy to be there. They're just doing what they're asked to do. The zookeeper even can tell they're not happy, but hey, what are you supposed to do? They had a good resume. So for us, I think I'd hate to go through life blind, not knowing anything about myself, not knowing anything about my partner, my spouse, because the chances of more conflict, more fights, less passion, less fulfillment are right there waiting for you. So I think your own personal growth, your own personal journey with your profile is going to be with you till the day you die. You're not going to get to Shady Acres Retirement Community and suddenly not want to be funny. You'd be pulling your false teeth out trying to scare people. So the thing is that we try to get you to be who you are. Yeah. With timing, with management, with good coaching.
That's great. Well, it's as I say, get that strength, make it stronger.
Yeah.
Rachel?
Yeah, Kev and I were going to say the same thing. I mean, we're just flying blind if you and your team do not know what their strengths are. But I would say, in addition to that, is the data proves this out for us. You know, research shows, according to Psychology Today, that organizations that the leaders know their strengths, the team members know their strengths, where trust is involved in the culture, we are 16 times more productive than we would when we're essentially flying blind or just trying to figure it out, or using the same structure and system operationally for any different person that we've got in here. And so for me, it's just data. Who don't make it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It does.
There's
make
enough
things easier.
challenges that we're going to face in business. It does not need to be internal ones that are fixable and solvable.
Great. Well, our mission at Buffini and Company is to impact and improve the lives and livelihoods of people. And I don't know if a better tool that we have to help people really just impact their life positively in every way. So, Rachel, I think you have a little gift for our audience today. Why don't you share that with everybody?
We do. So, you know, for those of you that are new to us, welcome. But for those that have been around, back by popular demand, we are bringing back Real Strengths deep dive consultations. So I will say this, there is a limited spot for this introductory pricing that is special to our beautiful Curious CEO listeners. And so for a very limited time, for the first 100 that sign up, you are able to have an hour-long Real Strengths consultative deep dive on whatever challenge it is that you are facing as a leader, that your business is facing, to really figure out how to use your strengths and the strengths of the individuals on your team, the strengths of the individuals that you serve, to move through the challenges that your business currently faces here in 2025. And so introductory rate and offer of $295 for the first 100 that sign up, but welcome back. Real Strengths deep dives are alive and well.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. That's great. I think the information is on the screen. You can hit that QR code, go there, do it quickly. They are not going to last long. And before I let you guys go, I just want to let you know, I can tell you this, that I have never seen a tool work better for myself that's helped me advance my ball, my career. It is a cheat sheet. And I haven't seen a tool that's been better for our clients to really help them get the best out of themselves. Rachel, Kevin, I want to thank you so much for being here today. That was awesome. We're going to go backstage here and answer some of our leadership coaching clients' questions when it comes to the profile. For everybody else, thank you for joining us. I just hope you know that you have everything you need right now to be awesome. So we'll see you next time on The Curious CEO. Take care. God bless.
Thank you for joining us on this month's Curious CEO. If you're ready to take your leadership to the next level, maybe it's time for you to work with a Buffini Certified Leadership Coach. Our coaches will help you identify and leverage your natural leadership style, develop a strong organizational culture, improve recruiting and retention, and increase the profitability of your business. And among the benefits of our leadership coaching membership is a backstage pass to the Curious CEO that allows you to ask your questions directly to Dermot and his amazing guests. If you'd like to see if Buffini Leadership Coaching is right for you, schedule your complimentary leadership consultation using the URL on your screen.